Hello, I'm Dr. Brendan McKenzie and I'm the Skep Vet. Today I'm going to talk about everybody's favorite topic, diarrhea. So this is one that's a little gross, but I get lots and lots of questions about this, so I thought I would try to help you out a little and provide some basic information. So there are going to be 3 videos in this series. The first I'm going to talk about common causes for diarrhea and when you should be concerned. At what point should you think about taking your dog to the vet? The second video then is going to be, if you go to the vet, what kind of tests are they going to do, what kind of questions are they going to ask, and what do you need to know? And then finally, what sort of treatments are there for diarrhea, and what should you think about doing? So let's get started. The important thing to remember is that most of the time in healthy dogs, diarrhea is not a big deal. It is not seriously life-threatening or likely to do a lot of harm to your dog. And most dogs will get a little diarrhea every now and again. Far and away the most common reason for this is what we call dietary indiscretion. That means eating things they shouldn't be eating. Might be plants or some other dog's poop or some other animal's poop, something in the yard, things out of the trash, table scraps, whatever. Something that isn't necessarily poisonous, but just simply upsets the normal ecosystem in the gut and causes a little soft stool. There are some more potentially serious causes, things that need to be treated. Of course, parasites can happen, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the testing part, and some actual serious diseases that can cause that. But most of the time, it's not something to worry about. So when should you be worried? The key things about looking at your dog and deciding whether you should call the vet or talk to the vet are they sick? If you have a dog that has a little diarrhea, but they're eating, they're not vomiting, they're active and happy and healthy and running around and doing all their other normal things, probably I wouldn't be too concerned in that case, especially if you have a young, basically healthy dog. Now, if you have a dog who's not feeling well, who's vomiting, who's not eating, who acts really sick and lethargic, those are all red flags. Those are a reason to call your vet or take your dog in to be seen. I'd also be a little more cautious in older dogs, dogs who have established health problems, or dogs who are on medications or maybe have recently changed medications. All of those are things that make me a little more concerned and you'd want to call your vet. But most of the time, young, healthy dogs, you don't have to be too concerned. Now, the other thing that often freaks people out, but that I have to tell you isn't that big a deal, is blood in the poop. When you have diarrhea and there's inflammation in the intestines, there's always going to be a little bleeding. If it happens in what we call the small intestine early on in the system, it all gets digested and processed and we don't see it and we don't worry about it. But if it happens in the colon at the end of the GI tract, then it comes out as fresh blood, we see it, and we all freak out and panic. Most of the time, blood in the stool is just an indication of where the inflammation is, not the cause, and not how serious it is. Now, of course, large amounts of blood, again, any dog who's not feeling well, sure, that's a reason to be concerned. But if you have that young, healthy dog that seems perfectly fine except they're having some diarrhea, and sometimes there's a little blood in it, wouldn't be too worried. Now, we'll talk in another video about what you can do about diarrhea, but just as a quick preview, for most cases where your dog is healthy and otherwise feeling fine, you can manage this at home. And the number one thing that we ask people to do is what we call a bland diet. This is switching from your regular food to something that is low in fat and easily digestible. Now, there are commercial bland diets. I keep a case of one in my garage, so if one of my dogs developed diarrhea, I've got it right there. You can also make these at home. You can cook any lean meat, chicken breast, ground turkey, ground beef, and then a little bit of a starch like white rice or plain pasta. It doesn't have to be nutritionally complete, it's only going to be for a short time, but you do have to feed the gut for it to heal. So we usually give these bland diets. Now, the other question that's a little more controversial is what about fiber? Traditionally, these bland diets for diarrhea have been low in fiber because fiber makes more poop, and you don't want to make more work for the gut when the gut's already unhappy and make more poop. But there are some kinds of diarrhea, particularly the large bowel or colon kind, where fiber may be helpful. And so I think right now the evidence is equivocal, and it's okay if you want to try or if you've had success in the past with adding fiber to your dog's bland diet when they have diarrhea. Most of the time, this should probably be in the form of some sort of unflavored psyllium, like a Metamucil kind of fiber. A lot of people will add canned pumpkin to the bland diet. Pumpkin is fine, but it doesn't really have very much fiber in it. You have to add a huge amount to get any meaningful amount of fiber, so it's not entirely clear that that's helpful in most cases. Okay, so quick recap. When should you be worried about diarrhea? You should be worried when your dog is acting sick, if it's not eating, if it's throwing up, if it's acting really lethargic. You should probably be a little more likely to call your vet if your dog is older, on medications, or has any known medical problems. And you can probably get a little more concerned if your dog has had the diarrhea for more than about a week or week and a half. And I know that sounds like a really long time, but a lot of studies have shown that most cases of what we call acute idiopathic diarrhea, most diarrhea in otherwise healthy dogs, goes away by itself, but it can take up to a week or week and a half. So if it's gone on 4 or 5 days, still too early to panic. Hope this is helpful. As always, I have a list of references on the SkepVet blog, and I will be back with another video soon to talk about what do you do if you have to take your dog to the vet for diarrhea. Thanks for watching.